Mom showed up to my wife's cancer remission anniversary in black and tried to toast my brother, and when I called her out for him being in jail, she exploded and revealed her true colors before threatening my family with payback. When he's released, for context, I'm in my mid-30s, married, 1 kid. My wife finished her last scan a year ago after fighting colon cancer for almost 2 years, stage 3. It was brutal. She's been in remission for a full year, and we wanted to celebrate that because honestly, we didn't know if she was going to even be here for our daughter's next birthday at one point. So we planned this small thing at our house. Nothing dramatic, just people who were supportive through everything. Mostly my wife's friends, a few of mine, a couple cousins. That's it. I've been low contact with my mom for a long time because of my brother, Tom. He's always been the golden child. I don't even mean the normal annoying favoritism some parents have. I mean the type where you watch your mom throw her entire life at the feet of someone who keeps blowing it up. DUIs, petty theft, disappearing for months, getting violent if he didn't get his way. She would bend herself in half to make excuses for him. Meanwhile, I bust my ass my whole life, work steady, keep out of trouble, try to build something for my own family, and I get treated like the backup kid they had in case the first one broke. Anyway, Mom was not invited to the remission celebration. That probably sounds harsh to strangers, but there's history behind that too. She made chemo rounds a nightmare because she'd show up unannounced, talk about Tom's latest crisis the whole time, or make everything about how hard this is for a mother. She even tried telling nurses she was basically taking over decisions because she knew better than my wife. It got so bad that my wife begged me not to tell Mom about appointments anymore. So yeah, she wasn't invited. She found out through a cousin. I didn't think she'd actually show up, but I clearly overestimated her ability to feel embarrassed. So picture this. Everyone at our house is laughing, eating. My wife's actually relaxed for the first time in forever. And then suddenly the whole room goes quiet because my mom walks through the door wearing a full black outfit like she was attending a funeral. I'm talking black dress, black shawl, black shoes, and a little black veil, like she was about to throw herself on a casket. People looked uncomfortable immediately. I went up to her to ask what she was doing because obviously this wasn't some random visit, and she had this dramatic, serious expression, like she wanted everyone to feel guilty for being happy. She acted like she was offended anyone wasn't standing silently or something. It honestly felt like a slap in the face to my wife, who already struggles with people treating her entire identity like cancer patient. I tried pulling her aside because I didn't want a scene. She didn't care. She said it was a sad day and that she couldn't believe we were celebrating while Tom was suffering. That was the moment I realized she wasn't just being dramatic. She was making this entire thing about Tom being in jail. She acted like my wife's remission party was some kind of insult to him. She kept hovering around the living room, and I kept watching her because the vibe went from quiet discomfort to people whispering. My wife kept asking me if she should say anything, but I told her not to worry, I'd handle it. Then, right when people were grabbing drinks and someone was setting up a small cupcake thing my sister had brought, my mom tapped a glass like she was about to give a speech at a wedding. Everyone stopped. Nobody wanted to hear her talk, but everyone froze because they didn't know if something bad happened. She announced she wanted to make a toast. I felt my stomach drop. She started going on about how people should remember those who can't be here, and then said something about her other son being wrongfully taken from his family. That's when I stepped in. I wasn't going to let her hijack my wife's remission celebration to glorify the guy who robbed our aunt and fought an officer trying to arrest him. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't care what twisted fantasy she has in her head. Tom isn't sitting in jail writing poetry about family. He's there because he can't stop screwing people over. So I said out loud, in front of everyone, that Tom isn't here because he's in jail for violating parole and assaulting an officer, and that she needed to stop acting like this was some kind of memorial service for him. It set her off instantly. She started yelling that I was humiliating her, that the justice system destroyed her son, and that my wife's remission isn't the only tragedy in this family. It was so unhinged and nasty that people literally put their drinks down and stared at her. Then she started getting personal. She said I stole the life Tom was meant for. She said she was punished with a second-rate son who turned my wife and daughter against her. She even said something about my wife's cancer being a curse on the family that wouldn't have happened if we had stuck together like we were supposed to. I swear the room temperature dropped. My wife was shaking. My daughter looked scared. That's when I told my mom it was time to leave. She refused at first and tried grabbing my daughter's arm, telling her she needed to love her uncle when he comes home. I pulled my daughter back and told my mom she needed to get out of my house now. I walked her toward the front door, and she leaned in when nobody else could hear and said something that genuinely made my skin crawl. She said, "When Tom gets out, I'm going to regret choosing my wife and child over the family that raised me." She said, "Payback is coming." I shut the door behind her, and the second she was gone, my wife broke down crying. Now I'm sitting here posting this because I don't know if that threat was just her being dramatic or if I actually need to take this seriously. I've been LC for years, but I never thought she would show up in funeral clothes to a remission party and act like my wife surviving cancer was an inconvenience for her. My wife doesn't want her anywhere near us. I don't either at this point. I guess my question is it overreacting if I cut her off completely, and do I need to worry about Tom when he eventually gets out? Update 1. This time my mom's doubling down, and the whole family is getting pulled into it. It started early the next morning. I woke up to something like 12 missed calls from one cousin and then a bunch from my aunt. Apparently my mom had been on the phone all night telling everyone that I humiliated her in front of the entire community. I don't know what community she thinks she belongs to, because nobody at that party was from her side except 2 cousins who only came because they like my wife. But she was acting like I embarrassed some kind of regional council of elders. My cousin who called first said she didn't want to be in the middle of it, but mom had basically given her a whole script about how I destroyed the night out of jealousy and how I've always secretly hated my brother. I couldn't even be mad at my cousin for repeating it because she sounded uncomfortable just saying it out loud. Then she admitted something that honestly shocked me more than it should have. Mom has been going around telling the extended family that I refused to bail my brother out last year because I wanted him to fail. She left out that he was arrested for stealing from our aunt and then resisting the officer who tried to get him into the car. A different cousin said she wouldn't blame me if I cut mom off completely because even she finds my brother scary. My wife also ended up telling me some stuff she never mentioned before, and I honestly needed a minute to process it because it wasn't small things. She said that back when she was still doing chemo, my mom showed up to one appointment uninvited and started talking to the nurses about my brother's legal troubles, like the medical staff needed to hear about all that, while my wife was literally trying not to throw up. My wife said she didn't warn me back then because she didn't want to stress me out more than I already was, and she figured it wasn't worth a fight. She said my mom made little comments during chemo about how she should be making practical arrangements early. The worst part is my wife said it in this tiny voice like she was worried I'd be mad at her for not telling me sooner. I'm not mad at her at all. I'm mad that she even felt she had to hide something like that. My sister called me next. She and I aren't super close, but we've always been on the same page about our mom and brother. She said mom was planning to gather the family for some kind of intervention, which honestly made me laugh at first because of how ridiculous it sounded. But then she explained it in more detail, and it stopped being funny. Mom wanted the family to pressure me into apologizing publicly for disrespecting the family name at the celebration, which is insane because the only disrespectful thing that happened was her hijacking a remission milestone to talk about her favorite criminal. My sister said the real reason mom wanted this intervention was to guilt me into sending money to my brother's commissary and help with his legal bills. That part tracks because she's been hinting at that for months, though never directly at me, always to other people who then repeat it to me like it's something I should be doing automatically. So I decided to call my mom myself. It didn't go well, but it also didn't go the way she expected. She tried to talk to me like nothing happened, like she didn't show up dressed like the Grim Reaper at my wife's celebration. When I told her I was done, she played the whole cold voice thing she does, the kind that makes it sound like she's talking to you from a royal balcony. She said I was abandoning my real responsibilities and how Tom wouldn't forget that I chose my wife over the family. I hung up and blocked her. Update 2. The first thing that happened was my cousin sending me screenshots from a family group chat I'm not in. I don't even know why I still get shocked when I see the way my mom talks about me, because she's been doing the golden child thing since we were basically kids, but seeing it written out like that still hit me. She was telling everyone I mocked her grief. Then she said my wife pretended to be upset to embarrass her, which is honestly insane considering my wife nearly broke down from the stress she caused that night. And then apparently I'm jealous of Tom's natural charisma, which made me laugh for a second because he's literally in jail right now, but after the laughter wore off it just pissed me off. The only reason I even know what's being said is because 2 of my cousins have had enough of her. I've been trying to just focus on my wife and my kid and keeping our house calm, but that's getting harder when I can feel the tension from every direction. My wife had a bit of a health scare right after that, which sent everything spiraling. Nothing cancer-related, thank God. But the stress took a toll, and she had to go in to get checked. I sat in the waiting room feeling this mix of panic and anger because all I could think about was how we wouldn't even be there if my mom could just act like a normal human for once. I honestly felt guilty for letting her get so close to us again. I know logically it isn't my fault, but I'm the one who kept giving her chances, and my wife's the one who ends up with panic attacks and medical issues every time my mom decides she's the victim of the month. And then my sister called me and dropped another bomb on top of everything else. I always knew Tom used my mom financially for years, but apparently there was a whole chunk of stuff she never told me. When I was in college, someone opened a credit card in my name. I remember the mess it caused, and I remember mom telling me it was some identity theft situation, but she handled it and I didn't need to stress. Turns out it wasn't identity theft at all. It was Tom. He took out the card, maxed it, and when the bills came, she partially paid them off and told me to just drop it because it was handled. My sister told me mom made her swear not to tell me, so it wouldn't ruin the family. Hearing that made me furious in a way I didn't expect. I'm almost in my late 30s now, and somehow I'm still cleaning up messes she let him make when I was barely old enough to handle myself. That's what finally pushed me to talk to a lawyer. Not even because I wanted to go nuclear. I just needed someone who wasn't emotionally tied to the situation to tell me what my options were. He told me that given the threats my mom made, the fact she keeps showing up and harassing me, and Tom's history, I could file for a no-contact order now instead of waiting for him to get out. Apparently the parole board actually takes this stuff seriously when it's documented. It felt weird hearing someone say that I can take steps before something happens. My whole life with my mom has been waiting until after something explodes to react, so the idea of protecting my family ahead of time feels almost unreal. Update 3. This update started with my aunt showing up at my house unannounced. This is the same aunt Tom stole from. She's always been neutral. One of those people who hates conflict so much, she'll pretend nothing ever happened if it keeps the peace. She looked nervous as hell standing on my porch and admitted she'd been going back and forth about talking to me for days. She said she couldn't keep carrying the guilt because if things went south when Tom got out, she didn't want to be one more person who stayed quiet. She told me she's been covering for my mom for years and never said anything because she didn't want to stir the pot. But now she feels like keeping quiet is worse. What got me was how she said it. She didn't act like she was helping me. She acted like she was confessing something ugly. She said my mom always made everything Tom did somehow my fault. If he got arrested, she'd say it was because I stressed him out. If he dropped out of school, she'd say it was because I made him feel stupid. She even said my mom told people I took his place the day I was born. I don't even know what that means, but it messed with me more than I expected. My aunt said my mom believes I was basically put on this earth to keep Tom afloat, and the fact I moved out, built a life, had a wife, a kid, a home that was the betrayal. Not the crimes, not the chaos, not the stealing. Me leaving. I didn't even know how to respond. My sister came over later that day because we'd planned to go to my mom's house together to get some documents we still had stored there, and she could tell I was already wound up. She kept telling me to keep things calm, that we were just going in, grabbing what we needed, and leaving, and I really tried to stick to that. I swear, I went in with zero intention to fight with anyone, but of course my mom had other plans. The second we walked in, she acted like nothing had happened. No mention of the voicemail, no mention of the threats, no mention of her calling my workplace. She was setting the table like she expected us to sit down and eat with her. It felt surreal. She said stuff like we were just having a bad week and families go through phases. She kept saying I needed to be the bigger person because I'm the stable one. The same line she's hit me with my whole life whenever she wanted to excuse Tom's behavior. At that point, I told her we weren't there for a reunion. We were there to get our stuff and leave. And that's when everything snapped. She dropped the nice act in a second and went straight into acting like I ruined her life. She said I was dead to her. She said my wife turned me against her. She said Tom was the only one who ever loved her properly, and he'd never abandon her like I did. She said Tom would come home stronger like he always does, and she said it like she was proud of it. My sister tried to calm things down, but instead, my mom turned on her too. That's when my sister lost her patience and finally told me what she'd been debating telling me for weeks. Mom has been writing letters to Tom in jail, basically feeding him lies about me. She's been telling him I stole his house, that I want him locked up forever, that I'm poisoning our daughter against him, that my wife hates him and always has. She told him I'm planning to take legal action to keep him away permanently before I even decided to do that. My sister said Tom wrote back bragging about how he knows how to deal with me. That was pretty much the last straw. I wasn't leaving that house without doing what I should have done the moment she threatened my family. On the way home, I filed the restraining order against both of them. I also contacted Tom's parole officer and handed over every recording, every voicemail, every screenshot. I guess I thought there'd be a part of me that felt guilty, but honestly, the only thing I felt was angry I waited this long. Final update. So, the early release hearing finally happened. My sister came with me because she's the only one in the family who hasn't lost her mind defending my mom and my brother. My wife couldn't come because her doctor told her not to put any more stress on her body after the health scare she had. Honestly, I was grateful she wasn't there. She already lived through cancer. She didn't need to sit in a room and watch the woman who wore a funeral dress to her remission celebration whisper threats about payback. The tension in the room was insane. My mom got there early and sat right in the front row like this was her personal court show. She didn't look at me at first, but the moment she did, it was that look she's had my whole life, like I'm the disappointment who refuses to bow down to the real son. I just ignored her. I wasn't there to make a scene. I was there to protect my family. When the hearing started, my lawyer presented everything we had. The voicemail she left me telling me I owed blood for blood. The stuff she'd been feeding Tom, encouraging him to fix the family when he got out. The letter she wrote him telling him I set him up, even though she knows damn well he blew every chance he ever had on his own. The threats she made at the remission party in front of half my wife's friends. It was all laid out. No theatrics. Just facts. My mom's face twisted the moment she realized how much evidence we had. She tried whispering to the person next to her, probably spinning whatever new story she planned to push next, but she couldn't talk her way out of this one. Tom wasn't even there. His lawyer said he didn't feel comfortable attending. I don't even know if that was true or if he just didn't want to face me. Either way, the board didn't care. The minute they saw the pattern, the violence, the threats, the letters, the way he'd been talking inside about settling things, you could see it in their faces. It was over. They denied his early release. Completely. No conditions, no reconsideration date, just a flat no. And that's when my mom lost it. She stood up so fast the chair hit the floor, started shouting about how I betrayed my own blood, and how I destroyed the family legacy. She even pointed at my sister and said she only took my side because she was jealous of the bond Mom and Tom had. Security had to step in when she lunged forward, and she ended up getting dragged out screaming that my wife had poisoned me against her. It honestly didn't feel real. I've seen my mom that angry, but I've never seen this version of her. It was like every mask she ever wore just cracked in 1 second. And the scary part is I think she genuinely believes the things she was yelling. After she was removed, the rest of the hearing was pretty straightforward. They went over the restraining orders, confirmed my wife and daughter were included, and said they'd notify Tom's parole officer about everything. My lawyer whispered to me that this meltdown basically guaranteed she'd be banned from any future hearings related to Tom. When we walked outside, my sister was shaking. She's tough, but even she admitted she'd never seen Mom like that. A cousin called me later saying everyone in the family chat was blowing up. Half of them didn't believe my mom would behave that way until videos started circulating from people in the courtroom who recorded her screaming. Suddenly, all the "give her grace" people went quiet. Aunt, the one Tom stole from, called me crying. She apologized for letting things go on so long, for enabling my mom, for pretending the golden child thing wasn't real. She said she should have stepped in years ago. It felt weird hearing that. I wasn't angry at her. I just felt tired. Anyway, after everything blew up, my lawyer suggested I send my mom a formal no-contact letter, just so there's no misunderstandings later. So I did. I didn't write anything emotional in it. Just a legal line saying she's not to contact me, my wife, or my daughter in any form. We also decided to stay with a friend for a few days after the hearing, just until things calmed down. I changed the pickup list at my daughter's school, updated the security system, the whole deal. I don't think my mom is capable of actual violence, but after the way she behaved, I'm done pretending I know what she's capable of. Thank you to all of the helpful people here. My wife is doing